Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to our best chess games of all time series. So in this series we're following the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history, and today I'll start something new in this series. Today I'll start the best World Chess Championship matches in history, and we're starting now the World Chess Championship in 2007, which was held in New Mexico in September of 2007. And why I didn't start this World Chess Championship matches from the beginnings. Why I, for instance, didn't start this tournaments maybe with this Wilhelm Steinitz games or maybe with some Emanuel Lashkar game, because this 2007 World Chess Championship was really one of the most important tournaments, at least for me, because I made a break in chess. I haven't played chess between 2000 and 2007. I was really annoyed by the game. I'm not sure why. I simply stopped to play. But this guy Viswanathan Anand brought back the love for the chess world to me, and I was really impressed how he played. And I wasn't still starting to play chess. I still followed only the games. I didn't play actively. I just played some casual games. But then when I watched the World Chess Championship in 2008 in the match between Kramnik and VIshwanathan Anand, I was really impressed by the dynamics that Viswanathan could create from static openings. For instance, he's really the master in the Slav or the semi-Slav defense, and then I started to play actively, got back to my club and started really to play. And if maybe Viswanathan wouldn't have been such a great player back in the 2008 2007, I wouldn't maybe start even to play chess, and everything other is now irrelevant because I'm now playing actively 12 years, and I'm really glad that I'm back in the chess world. And still I'm also glad that I have this YouTube chess channel that I can present some ideas here on my channel. And as I said, we're starting now with the 2007 World Chess Championship. This was a very intense tournament because many great players played in this tournament. This wasn't a match game. This was a double round robin tournament in which all of these great grandmasters participated. We have Vladimir Kramnik, who was the first undisputed World Chess Championship. He won the game against Veselin Topalov. We have Vichy, Peter Swidler, Alexander Morozevich, also great player, Peter Leko, also very nice player, Boris Gelfand, also then after that he was also World Championship challenger against Vichy Anand, Levon Aronian, really one of my favorite grandmasters these days, and the legendary Grishchuk, the Thug Life Grishchuk, also participated. So this was really a brutal tournament. But this tournament was also, I think, very important from this historical point of view because we had this classical world champion and also the FIDE world champion. Then as I said, in 2006 Vladimir Kramnik was the first undisputed world chess championship, and then we had this tournament, this double round robin, in which Vishy Anand really played very nice, and he played in such a great way with a great attacking brilliancy. Even in this, as I said, in this static openings, in this blocked openings, he always found some great ideas how to create dynamics in chess. So we are starting now in the round 2, in which Vichy faced Levon Aronian in the second round with the black pieces, and again the Slav defense was played. That's why I wanted to show you this game. I really wanted to show you how great this Slav opening sometimes can be. It's the Slav defense, and Vichy Anand is really one of the best chess players in history in this opening, so be prepared. This is really a great brilliancy by Vichy. So let's check out the game. We have d4 by Levon Aronian, knight to f6, c4, e6, we have knight to f3, the counter Nimzo Indian setup, and Vichy plays here d5, Levon Aronian plays knight to c3, and we have c6. We have the semi-Slav setup. The idea behind this move, c6, is sometimes to play d takes c4, and you have the pawn on c6, so you would love then to expand on the queen side, because if bishop takes c4, then we would create a new tempo against the bishop. So here Levon Aronian plays the move bishop to g5, pins the knight immediately. We have h6, and now after bishop to h4 we have now this anti-Moscow gambit, which is a very aggressive way for white to proceed here, because now there is this threat by black. We could play something like g4, d takes c4, and fix the pawn structure with the move b5. That's all possible because Levan Aronian played this very aggressive opening. One of the best ways is maybe in some occasions to release the pressure in the center, simply play c takes d5, not allowing this scenario. But here, as I said, after h6 and bishop to h4, we have d takes c4 by Anand. And now it's very hard for white to grab this pawn. In the game, Aronian played the move e4, and we have now g5. You could maybe try immediately to play the move b5. That would be also a very dynamic game, because now there is this threat to play the move e5. Still nothing is lost for black immediately, because black has some counterplay possibilities with the move g5 after knight takes, h takes g, bishop takes g5, and now knight to d7, e takes f6 could be a possibility. But now after knight to f6 and queen to f3, bishop to e7, it's an unclear game, I think, for both sides. Still, black can, white can play knight to b5, queen to c6, but still black can defend with rook to b8, bishop to b7. So it's really a dynamic position. In this position, I don't think that anyone will castle. Even queenside castling is very dangerous for here. You see black has already an expansion on the queenside, has some possibilities to push the pawn on b4. You see the d4 pawn is a weakness. So here I think it's an equal game for both sides. So that's why after the move e4, Vishy goes into another line with the move g5, simply not allowing this pinning idea, because if you try now knight takes g5, after h takes g, bishop takes g5, black can always play the move bishop to e7, and no e5 threats are present. So it would be a good game here for black if, for instance, white decides to take the pawn on g5. So that's why bishop to g3, played by Aronian. We have b5, and this is now a game in which white has, of course, the pawn central control. These are very powerful pawns. They are restricting these 4 centralized squares. But what black has here is a 4 versus 2 situation on the queen side. So black should make progress somehow here. The problem is for white that the potential a4 move can be always met with move b4. Then black would always have 2 connected pawns on the 4th rank, so it's still a very aggressive game. In the game knight to e5, played by Aronian, the idea behind this move is never allow this knight to come into the game here on d7. Then you have the opportunity to take the pawn on c6, which is a weakness in black's position. But in order to develop the knight, black needs to lose many tempos. Black needs to play maybe queen to b6 and then maybe knight to d7. So it's an idea to stop a little bit black's progress on the queen side. We have h5 and by Anand, h4, stopping the pawn storm that Anand has created on the king side. We have g4. Taking the pawn is not a good idea. Bishop to h4 will follow, and again we are creating this very annoying pin on the queen. So that's why g4. We have bishop to e2, and now bishop to b7. If you try, for instance, to play the move b4 immediately, it's not such a powerful idea, because we have simply the opportunity to play knight to a4. If you take here, bishop to c4 can be played. Okay, you could maybe take out the knight, but after f takes g3 and something like bishop to g7, I like simply the idea knight to c5, blocking the queen side. If you take bishop takes e5, d takes e5, maybe even queen to d1 is a possibility, rook to d1. Okay, but I think white is slightly better, although down a pawn. You see, again, black has the problems of the dark square bishop, light square bishop, which is blocked out by these pawns. You cannot develop your minor pieces. This rook can come on a very active square on d6. We can even castle here. Then we could have some attacks on the f file. So it's, I think, a slightly better position for black, but probably this game would end in a draw in this top grandmaster level. I think Levan Aronian would have found a way, maybe with a5, bishop to a6 or similar ideas. Okay, here, as I said, after the move bishop to e2, Anand doesn't go into this line with the move b4. He develops simply with bishop to b7. We have castling, and now knight to d7. We have queen to c2, finally protecting our e4 pawn. Here in the game, knight takes e5, we have bishop to e5, and now bishop to g7. Still, Levan Aronian has this very powerful pawn central control. The problem for black here is that black cannot make immediate progress with his 4 versus 2 situation on the queen side. So black would love, of course, to push on pawns a5, b4, but so far it's not possible. You see, a c5 move is not good immediately because it can be met with knight takes b5 followed with knight to d6. So it's still an equal game, so there are opportunities for both sides. As I said, white has the pawn central control, black has the potential queenside attack. In the game, rook to d1 played by Aronian, very important move to get the rook on the same file like the queen. So if there's something happening now on the d file, there are always these discovered attack possibilities against the queen. In the game, castling played by Anand, and we have now bishop to g3. Very important move because there was this threat by black to play the move knight to d7 immediately following with maybe e5 or c5. Bishop to g3, very important move because it protects here the pawn on h4. In the game, knight to d7 played by Anand, and we have now f3. A common idea here of whites to crack the position, because there is something going on here on the king side. Black has a space advantage here on the 4th rank, so one of the best ways is simply to break this space advantage that black has created with the move f3, or here on the queen side we could play something like b3. So in the game, c5 played by Anand, a very aggressive idea, because you have to crack now the pawn central control that white has built here. It's really annoying to play against these two pawns. You want to play much more actively with your knight. You want to liberate your light square diagonal. Also, you want to attack also this d4 pawn. In the game, we have d takes c5. If you try something like knight to b5, I think it can be met with here c takes d4. And after something like queen to c4, I believe that g takes f3 is perfectly fine. After g takes f3, rook to c8, simply attacking the queen. If the queen retreats maybe to d3 or something like b4, we could maybe fix the center with the move e5. This could be a very annoying pawn to play against, this supported pass pawn on d4. So far, 11 Aronian understands the threat and plays simply d takes c5. Here we have queen to e7. Very, very tricky idea here by Viswanathan. Risky idea. There is this problem. If you try bishop to d6, it seems like a dangerous move because you lose the rook, but here Anand has prepared a great tactic. Queen to h4. If you take, for instance, bishop to, takes f8, then g3 is a forced checkmate, and it's game over here for white. So great idea here to place the queen on e7. The idea behind the move queen to e7 is to create this check, queen to c5. That's why Aronian had to move the king to h1, because so far you cannot take the pawn. Knight to b5 is not a possibility because we'll simply take queen to c5 and take out the knight. So after queen to e7, as said, king to h1, we have a6. Very nice move here by Viswanathan. He fixes the pawn chain. Here Anand is trying to rely simply on his pawn majority on the queen side on this 3 versus 2 situation. In the game, Aronian plays a4. Common idea to break the pawn chain by trying to split it with the move a4. If, of course, b takes a4 happens, then these pawns are all weakness on the board. So that's why bishop to c6 played by Anand, relying simply on his space advantage. On the queen side, we have knight to d5. Very tricky idea by Levan Aronian because he's trying now to connect some pawns here in the center, but here Vishy simply takes. He's accepting the challenge. E takes d5. We have e takes d5, and now a very, very nice move, bishop to e5. Retreating with the bishop here is not an option. That's not good because you get simply c6. After bishop takes c6, we have d takes c6, and you have to retreat with the knight, and this pawn is very dangerous because it's supported here. If the pawn gets on c7, it's supported by the star square bishop. We are taking control over on the d file. We could then after that play something like a takes b5 and followed with b3, taking maybe out this pawn, getting this bishop into the game. So it will be a bad game here for black. So bishop to e5, very nice move here by Viswanathan. If you take bishop takes e5, then here knight takes e5, and after something like, I don't know, d takes c6, we would simply take this pawn. It's not the problem that we can we take this pawn. This pawn can be taken afterwards. But here, if you take this pawn queen to c5, then after a takes b5, and after a takes b5, I think that black has a comfortable game. Here, you in the next couple moves, we could play something like g takes f3 and maybe fix even our knight on f6 with the move f6. This knight is very centralized. It's a really a great minor piece on the board, and still black can continue here the game with a 2 versus 1 situation. So it's still a great game here on the queen side. As I said, this pawn is simply a weakness. It cannot be protected anymore. So here I think black has a comfortable game. So that's why after the move bishop to e5, Aronian plays the move f4, kicking away the bishop. Okay, after bishop to g7, we have now a new position. Aronian gets a tempo, but now you see this bishop is simply blocked out by these 2 pawns. It's simply bad bishop position here. In the game, we have d takes c6 by Aronian, and now knight takes c5. If we now evaluate the strength of the pieces, I simply like black's position more. You see, we have now the opportunity to attack the b2 weakness. This knight is centralized. Still, we are continuing the game with a 3 versus 2 situation. Great position so far for Anand. So we have rook to d5. Very risky idea here by Aronian. A better idea, I think, is to play the move queen to f5. Then maybe to attack this pawn on h5. Rook to d5, a mistake here by Aronian, and we have now knight to e4. In the game, bishop to e1, we have queen to e6, and here rook takes h5. Here Anand gives up a pawn, but the problem is now that this rook can be locked with the move f5. This rook is locked here. It can be attacked with some knight to queen to g6 ideas. You cannot move the rook. You have only one square. It's the square on g5. Then we can take out this rook with the knight. But even in this position, after the move rook to d5 and queen to e6, if you retreat with the rook on d1, the position hasn't improved, I think, for white, because we have the opportunity to play the move f5. This knight is very, very nice. The problem is now that you cannot attack this knight by any minor piece. You cannot play bishop to f3, you cannot play bishop to d3. You see the space advantage that black has created here on the 4th rank is not allowing these bishops to breathe. And still, as I said, this bishop is aiming. You cannot activate this bishop, maybe to b4, but again, rook to d8 is a possibility. So again, it's a comfortable game here for black. In the game, as said, after the move queen to e6, rook takes h5, but now after f5, it's a bad position for white. This rook is out of game. In the game, king to h2 was played by Aronian, and now rook to c6. Simply attacking this weakness. We have bishop to b4, we have rook to e8, a takes b5, a takes b5, and now rook to e1, queen to f7, simply attacking the rook, and now the rook has to move on this weird square on g5, and after knight takes g, f takes g5, we have rook to c6. We have now a new position in which black is up the exchange, but again, the problem is now that we have now a 2 versus 1 situation on the queen side. You have a vulnerable king here on h2. It's still vulnerable to black's attacks. In the game, bishop to f1 was played, and now simply trading off some more pieces, simplifying the position. Rook takes e1, bishop takes e1, and now rook to e6, activating the rook, bishop to c3, queen to c7, the check, g3, we have rook to e3, very nice move, attacking the g3 pawn. We have queen to g2, necessary move, you have to protect your g2, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, and now f4. Here it's in winning position for black. Here Viswanathan opens the position in front of the king. We have queen to a8. Okay, it's one check, but now after king to g7, you don't have any more checks. Queen to a6 was played, and now after f takes g3, in this position, Levan Aronian resigns. So, as I said, this was this round 2 of this World Championship in 2007. This was, as I said, the double round robin tournament. So already a great win here by Viswanathan with the black pieces against such a strong opponent like Levan Aronian. Great accomplishment, and here I think it was a very important thing for Viswanathan to start this tournament like this, to get a win with the black pieces. Now all eyes were on Viswanathan and also on Vladimir Kramnik, who were of course the favorites to win this tournament. So far a great accomplishment. As I said, we are following in this World Championship 2007, we are following Viswanathan's games because he won this very nice tournament, and you see how great Vishy played also in 2007. Viswanathan is, among other many things, the only player in chess history. I have to say it also here. The only player that played in World Championship matches among in between 20 years. Great things. Even Garry Kasparov didn't manage to do that. Kasparov played the World Championship matches between 85 and 2000. Viswanathan, on the other hand, played the World Championship matches between 94 and 2013. So Vishy played really great chess through decades. That's why he is really one of the best chess players in chess history. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. We are following, as I said, this very nice tournament. If you want to see some other best chess games of all time, check out my best chess games of all time series. Here's the link. And if you want to see the best chess games played by computers, you can also check out my commented chess games played by computers. If you like this content, you can also subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.